Andrew Holness was sworn in as Jamaica's youngest prime minister in 2011. He came into office and addressed the country's crushing debt burden. He met recently with the Jamaican Diaspora community here in New York City and shared his vision for transforming the island. Earlier, I had the opportunity to speak with Jamaica's former prime minister, Andrew Holness. This is what we talked about. Mr. Prime Minister, welcome to Arise America. Thank you so much for stopping in our New York studios. So great to have you. Of course, you know, so many people, particularly in the United States, are familiar with Jamaica and its tourism industry as a destination for many Americans to go and relax on the beach, enjoy the culture. But there are some real serious issues that face the society in Jamaica, whether it is grappling with what seems to be intractable poverty or violence, the access to education. So I want to, I guess, start with you on your perspective of what needs to be addressed first that will create, if you will, a domino effect for improving the society.
Well, you started on the right notes. Poverty, obviously, is still a major problem in Jamaica. Varying estimates, some people say between 600,000 to 1 million Jamaicans live in some form of poverty, whether absolute or relative. And I think that there has to be a commitment on the part of government, on the part of the state, to eliminate poverty in a serious way. But where do you start with that? That's such a big problem. And I think education is a place to start.
I would just say one might assume that you would say education. You are the former Minister of Education. Of course, you were the Prime Minister for a period of time. Where is the sticking point? I mean, Jamaica has been fairly successful with the tourism industry, a lot of revenue coming in. Why is that not trickling down, or doesn't seem to be trickling down to the infrastructure?
Well, Jamaica has a major problem with managing its debt. For many years, we've lived on borrowed funds, and now we have to face up to the borrowing. It's 141% of GDP, probably the highest in the world at this rate. And so Jamaica has to engage in a program of fiscal discipline. It has to manage what it spends, and therefore expenditure on important public goods such as education, health, and other areas are really circumscribed right now. But that doesn't say that the government can't make priorities. And I think that what's is critical now. The government makes things like education and healthcare a priority.
I don't mean to just focus on the negative issues right away because you're a beloved guest here on our show. However, I want to also ask you about corruption. That seems to be a continuing theme, particularly in developing countries that are struggling with poverty, with lack of access to health care and education. There is the one big criminal, Judas Coke, if I have the name correct.
Yes.
Yeah, captured by the U.S. Many thought that he was supported by Jamaican government. So where do you start to sort of unravel the ball of
the Jamaican state has to acknowledge that corruption is a problem. The Jamaican electorate has to acknowledge that in the consideration of when you elect your government, that you have to elect governments and people who are beyond reproach or integrous. Obviously, the challenge with corruption in many respects is that some people do benefit and it has political links sometimes.
What was your experience
My experience in government is that we tried, and I believe that the government have been trying to grapple seriously with corruption, certainly in terms of putting in place the legislation and in terms of now developing the ability within our police force, our security forces, to gather intelligence, track, and prosecute. So it is not as if we're not doing anything, but I believe we need to do more. And we need to make it a truly political issue where the electorate holds the government to account for managing corruption.
Let me turn the corner a little bit, talk about the Jamaicans or those of Jamaican descent here in the U.S. That's related to the reason you're here in New York. There's a very large Jamaican population throughout the U.S., but particularly here in New York and particularly in South Queens. So much so the neighborhood is called Jamaica Queens. Tell me, what is being done to maintain the connection of people of Jamaican heritage and descent that have come to the U.S. or the diaspora that is dispersed globally?
Well, the diaspora does keep contact with Jamaica, but we do monitor what is happening because we are now moving into third and fourth generation Jamaicans. and of course immigration policies of countries like the United States and the UK would have had an impact on the growth of the diaspora. So I would say within 20, 30 years, the nature of the diaspora may very well change. So the government has to put in place institutions to manage that relationship. We see the Jamaican diaspora as very important as a catalyst for the development of Jamaica, and we have to find ways and explore new avenues of truly integrating the Jamaican diaspora into the development of our country.
And that leads to why you're here in the U.S.
Yeah, I'm here to meet with a representative group of the diaspora in an open forum to discuss possible ways in which the diaspora can participate in the development of Jamaica and to share a vision with the diaspora as to what it is that Jamaicans at home can expect from a new government.
The former Prime Minister, Andrew Holness. Thank you so much. It's very nice to meet you.